Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is part 2 of my toy series. So in my last video, I shared my top 10 toy category recommendations. If you haven't watched that video, please go do so. But today I'm sharing a few tips on displaying and storing toys and a look inside my toy rotation. Simplify toy choices. Children thrive in a beautiful and calm environment. So my biggest tip when it comes to creating said play environment is keeping things minimal. I said it in my previous toy video and I say it again today, less is more. You'll find that in implementing minimalistic choices, the more your child will play with his or her toys. Now, there is no set or correct number on the amount of toys you should own. The variables are greatly different for every household. But if you do find yourself cluttered with toys, a good place to start is by decluttering the toys which are no longer age appropriate for your child, so baby toys. And then by sorting and storing toys which are still too advanced for your child and pulling them out at a later time. My next suggestion is to get rid of the toy boxes and the toy bins. In my over a decade of parenting, I have found that toy boxes are just an invitation for clutter and broken toys. Instead, consider displaying your toys on a shelf. So, why do toys on a shelf work better than in a toy box? Displaying toys on a shelf is more visually appealing. It can lead to a more minimalist and less chaotic environment. It teaches respect and order for belongings. I find that toys are put away and not left lying all over the floor, as each toy has its place, which in turn also prevents less toys from being broken and more toys being taken care of. As you can see, there is a clear diversity and variety in choices of toys, which in turn also makes it easier for me, the parent, to observe and then establish a toy rotation. And of course, it also fosters independence as toys are easily accessible. A common question is, where should toys be kept or displayed? Personally, we do not keep any toys in our bedrooms besides a stuffed animal or two and a few books. The reason being is because my children do not spend their days in a bedroom, and neither do I. Now, we are lucky and we do have a little designated space for play and for homeschool, but this is located on the main floor of our home, so next to the main living areas and kitchen where we spend most of our days together, where I can keep an eye on the kids and they can keep an eye on me. I do want to stress that you do not need a designated play space. There have been homes where we didn't have that, or you don't need to go out and buy a cubicle shelf or anything specific. Work with what you have. Here's an example of our TV console or shelf, and now how I have beautifully displayed and organized a nice variety of toys for my toddler. So again, work with the furniture that you have and the spaces that you've been blessed with. A great tip for not only organizing but beautifully displaying those toys on a shelf are baskets, and I'm sure you've noticed them all throughout this video. Baskets, bowls, trays of all different shapes and textures and sizes. I do like a more natural color palette, and most of my collection is from the thrift store. Now let's talk about my toy rotation. This is how I store the toys which are not out on the shelves or in rotation. This is super basic and minimal. You won't be impressed, but my system works. The thought is divide and conquer. By dividing your toys and only allowing access to a minimal amount at a time, you'll prevent messes, chaos, and overstimulation. The child will play and appreciate what he or she has out, and in a few weeks, there's always the excitement of new toys to play with. So I use clear plastic bins and I store them in an extra or overflow closet that I have, the garage would also be a good place. So what I'm showing you here, the top two bins are actual toys, and the bins all over here are the homeschool resources that I divide by seasons. So 4 seasons, and then the very top one, which is the slim clear box, is where I store our overflow of puzzles, which also get rotated out. And this bin here is holding stuffed animals that my Bella still has not been able to part with. You'll notice that the top bin here is a little bit larger, and that's because it houses a big toy, but I'm going to bring you in for a closer look of what's inside. Again, to be clear, these two bins are the only bins that contain actual toys. The rest are homeschool or educational resources. Both bins contain the same category or types of toys. For example, baby dolls and Barbies for the girls, vehicles and action figures for my son. Everything in these bins promotes play, pretend, or role play. You'll notice that we don't own many battery operated or flashy toys, and that's because those types of toys usually don't offer endless possibilities. This bin is slightly larger because it houses my son's Batman castle, which I do rotate out with the wooden Melissa and Doug castle we have out in rotation at the moment. But with that in here, he has a Batman vehicle and a few Batman figurines. For my girls, for Bella, who is my 6-year-old, her Wonder Woman, which she loves, and her Elsa doll, which is actually battery operated. She lights up and she sings, and it's okay to make an exception for things that bring our children joy and happiness, and Bella loves her. So Barbies, both of my girls play with Barbies. My toddler loves naked Barbies. So I also keep Barbie clothes and accessories in here. Bella also collects these little TY like Beanie Babies and plush fingerlings. So I have a few of those for her in here to swap out with other stuffed animals she may have out in rotation. And baby clothes for my Luna. She has a few babies in here. And then her Elsa doll as well. And this high chair, which she has not wanted to part with yet. So we keep this one out here, and we rotate out for her little Moses basket, which is out on the shelf right now. So everything in this bin are the building toys which are currently out of rotation. In my toy recommendations video, building toys were one of my recommended categories, and I do like to keep 2 to 3 options out at a time. So because we have several building toys, I like to keep them in a separate bin. And again, these also get rotated out every 2 to 3 weeks, just as the regular toys would. All right, and my final suggestion is to move things around in your play areas or home. I'm constantly rearranging or setting up different invitations to play. It keeps things fresh and interesting. Alright friends, that wraps up my toy series, and although it was only 2 videos short, I do hope that my recommendations and my tips on organization are helpful to you. Please remember that I am not a professional. I do not claim to be an expert or that my ways are the only right ways. I'm just a mom of a big family sharing what works for us. If you did like these videos, please give me a thumbs up, and thank you so much for being here.